California BikeTalk series. We've been visiting Spirit with Andre, Mohammed, and Lucas while they shared the experience of lowest highest in South America. We talked about training with our coach M2 and Chris Carmichael, and we went down a trip memory lane with Bob Babbitt and Old Time Racing. And last week, we had our Bike Geek talk with our bike sponsor, Chris from Roaring Mouse, and we had two Paralympians, Jamie Whitmore and Anthony Sahn, visiting us. So tonight, we are going to be talking about community. And I think by now, many of us are starting to feel the effect of this prolonged pandemic, and we're starting to feel the effect of isolation and lack of access to sports as we know it and love it. I know I'd give a lot to do a big group ride right now. What we're feeling right now is what our challenged athletes are feeling all the time on a permanent basis. The lack of access to sports, equipment, training, and coaching is what the demographic we serve is lacking every single day. So this is actually a good reminder of why we're here, why we're together in this community, and why our mission to support challenged athletes is more critical than ever. So thank you everybody for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. And thank you to my team, Naomi, Stacy, Liz. You're amazing. Thank you for making this happen. So with that behind us, I'm so excited to introduce the panel we have tonight. We have three extraordinary community builders with us. We have Helen Russell, the owner and CEO of Equator Coffee. Helen, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your sponsorship. We're proud and honored to be partnering with you, something we're really excited about. So welcome aboard on the CAF mission. We have Dean Roeper with us. Dean is a CAF board member. He is also the co-chair of the $1 Million Challenge Bike Ride, which is a ride every October from San Francisco to San Diego. He's co-chaired it for 15 years, and he is truly the heart and soul of this community. So welcome, Dean. Thank you for joining us from San Diego. And finally, we have Lance Weir with us. Lance, I'm so excited to have you. You may not remember this, but you were actually the very first person I met when I first joined CAF. It was 3.5 years ago. I showed up on Friday night to go on the $1 Million Challenge. I didn't know anyone. I sort of thought the whole thing was a bad idea, and I love a bad idea. And I walked in the ballroom, and there you were in your chair. And you started talking to me, and you told me you were riding. I sort of scratched my head, and I thought, couldn't quite figure out how you were going to ride from San Francisco to San Diego, being a quadriplegic. But the next morning when I saw you in your chair, I knew I had arrived exactly where I needed to be. And it was a magical experience to see you fly down the coast. So excited to have you with us tonight.
Thanks for sharing that, Lotte.
Yeah, it was. It's something I won't forget. So I'm really excited about this panel. Each three of you have really built community around your passions in an extraordinary way and show us a great example for the rest of us of how to do it. So very excited for our conversation. So Lance, let's start with you. You have built an amazing community around your hand cycle. Do you want to share with us how you actually found your way from being a very physically challenged person to I know also that you have won 8 gold medals in the Marine Corps shooting trials. I know you have finished an Ironman in your chair, and you're very accomplished. So we'd love to hear how you found your way to sports.
Well, I found my way to Challenged Athletes Foundation through Nico Marcolongo, who runs the Operation Rebound program. There was an event going on out at Camp Pendleton called the Marine Corps Trials, and it was a competition between 300 Marines that were trying to field a team that would go to Colorado Springs and compete against the other branches of service in what is essentially the military's version of the Paralympics. So my CAF foundation started there in the sport of shooting, and ultimately led to us creating a tandem hand cycle, one of a kind, that has evolved organically into something incredible and such a large part of my life, only because of how awesome the people are around it. And I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I get to ride my bike with with a lot of awesome people. You know, I don't know day to day exactly who's going to be on the front or who's going to be pushing the bar, but it always is one of the best experiences ever, and I've made so many great friends because of it. I just truly feel blessed.
That's amazing. Now, how did you discover this concept of, you really turned cycling into a team sport, because your bike requires a whole team. And how did you come up with the idea of building a team around you to help support you do these really amazing accomplishments that you've accomplished?
I'd like to take credit and say that was my goal and that was my vision, but it wasn't, Lotte. We, in 2011, Bill Walton asked me to take part in the $1 Million Challenge. And at that time, the concept of me going down the coast was just, it was just kind of, it was out there, so to speak. And I'll never forget going into Virginia. I'll never forget going into Virginia Tinley's office one day, per Bill's request, and I went in there and told her that I wanted to do the $1 Million Challenge this year, and she's like, "Well, do you even have a bike?" I'm like, "No, I don't, but we'll figure that out." Ultimately, we did come up with the concept, and when we first rolled out of San Francisco that first morning in October of 2012, I had Andy Boyd on the front of my bike, and that was it. And we had, the adventure started from that point on, and hopefully I'll share a story about that later on.
Oh, now you can't tease us. Now you have to share that story. Please do. Because my next question was actually going to be, what has been your biggest joy, surprise, and accomplishment as a cyclist? But now you got to share this story first.
Yeah, you know, I just remember being so scared of the MDC that 2012 and what we were going to do, what we were going to accomplish, what it was going to look like. I just know that it was going to be a reflection on myself, and so there was a lot of nerves for me taking off that first morning, and I was just hoping everything would go really well. And I'd only been on the bike for about 2.5 hours total up until that point, and I think we stopped to adjust something, and whenever, you know, everybody took off, by the time we looked back up, I mean, everybody was gone, and so I was like, wow, that's not starting off so great. So we get about a mile down the road, not even, you know, not too far from the hotel, and we throw the chain, and my nightmare is coming true. And I just remember Andy getting off the bike, and there's nobody around. We have one phone number to call, and he's like, well, so how's it going so far for you? And just the first thing out of my mouth was, this is the best day of my life. So it was just, you know, even though it started off bad and I had the nerves, just that first mile through the city of San Francisco and even throwing a chain, that was something that I had never experienced, something I never thought I would. And although we hadn't gotten very far and we were in trouble, it was still an awesome experience.
Wow, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing your bravery. I think everybody sort of sets out to do something like the $1 Million Challenge or something like that with some nerves and thinking they can't do it. And here you are, and you just showed them all that you could do it, and you continue to do it every year. It's really fun. So although that was your best day of your life, what has been your biggest joy in cycling with a team the way you do it and building the community you've built?
You know, it's just being around the guys and the girls in a different setting for me. I'm in my chair, you know, 90% of my time, and there's just a different feeling that you get, and being around your friends and your peers and all that thing when you're not in your wheelchair and you guys are experiencing the same thing, and you're trying to give each other the same. What I give, what I get is what I'm trying to say is the same thing that I try to give, and that's just to, I don't know, be something bigger, be a part of something bigger than myself, and this has given me a chance to do so. So just, I just started collecting some of these pictures that have happened over the past 8 years, and I get to see all the faces and all the bicycles and the great scenery and all this stuff, and I just pinch myself. I can't believe that's me sitting on that bike, experiencing what I'm experiencing with the kind of people that I'm experiencing it with is truly what's special about that. I've had the chance to meet and be around a lot of really, really special people, and I sometimes think that might not have happened if it wasn't for a bicycle and all these great people.
Well, thank you for sharing. You sure are a joy and an inspiration to be around, and I can't wait to ride down the coast with you again in October. So, Helen, let's move on. You have had a passion for quality and for coffee for a really long time, and somehow or another, you figured out how to tie it all together and build a community that has an extremely strong loyalty to your brand. Happens to be a community of cyclists and runners and a very athletic community. And personally, I happen to go to one of your shops every day, and there's a strong sense of community that you've created. And how did you come up with the concept of building community around your passion for great coffee?
I think, by the way, Lance, I'm absolutely inspired by your story. Since it'll be my first challenge, I hope you'll hang out with me a little bit because I'll be nervous. So I have a feeling I'm going to look up the road and they're all gone too. So hopefully you'll hang out.
I can't wait.
It's an honor to be here. When we started the company, Equator Coffees, 25 years ago, the community that we built was really with our farm partners in, Central, South America, East Africa, Indonesia, all over the world. And most recently, when we opened up our retail stores, which was 7 years ago, and I've always been an athlete, but I've been spending so much time building the company. I really wasn't going out and getting on a bike and doing things. And I thought, how can I build community? Because I love people. And all of a sudden, these cyclists just walked in. It was day one. And I thought, I can do this. I can get on a bike, and I haven't been on a bike for years. And I absolutely fell in love with it because you get two things from it, right? You get the opportunity to be outside, to exercise. You start at a cafe, which is an Equator Cafe, and then you end in an Equator Cafe. You have all this camaraderie and community that you've built. And Equator is really all about human connection and kindness. And I just got goosebumps because when I met with, Naomi, and I met Stacy, and then I met you, Lotte, and it was at our new Sausalito store, and it was such a cycling hub to begin with, which is right there. I thought, and then when I heard about Challenge Athletes, I was riding with Anthony Zahn, who's a very high-performing paraplegic who couldn't be on this evening. And I remember we did a ride last year, and Stacy pulled up, and this gentleman came out, and I guess what he's describing, what you described, Lance, was he had this sled that he got into. And I was so moved by watching Stacy get him into this sled and people gathering around him, and then seeing him out on the road. And I said, what is this? What is Challenge Athletes Foundations? How do I get involved with this? Because it's the camaraderie of cycling in general, people that are involved, and this other element of working with folks like Lance to get out there and do these things. It really is about community. It's about collaboration. It's about kindness. It's about, whether you're 3 or 83, you get into this environment where, like, look at Vinesh there in the background. I've met so many wonderful people through cycling, and coffee brings people together. Lotte, you know that. You
I do.
Right. And it has been so when people come to the store and start their ride, because cycling and coffee, it's very serious business, as you know. Cycling and coffee, it has to be quite the location. The coffee has to be great. The aesthetic has to be good. The outside environment. I remember the first thing I did when 7 years ago when we opened up our first store, I was talking to Matt Adams, who owns Mike's Bikes, and I said, I need a bike rack. And so I showed him the bike rack that I was going to get. And he said, no, that's not a bike rack. And then he showed me what, real bikes get put on, which is that log steel bike rack. So I've learned so much over the years, and especially most recently getting involved with you all at Challenge Athletes Foundation. It's been wonderful.
Well, it has been really wonderful for us to start our club rides at your Equator location. It's been a great starting and ending point, and we're really excited to have you on board. And I'm really excited to see you on the $1 Million Challenge. It'll be such a great time. Now, Dean, you are the heart and soul of the $1 Million Challenge. You are our spiritual leader on that ride. You motivate, you inspire us, you remind us daily of why we're there. So, you know, in the process of co-chairing this for the last 15 years, you really touched the lives of hundreds of riders, me included. So I thank you. I appreciate all the work that you put into it. And I'm curious to know, how has $1 Million Challenge changed you?
Powerful question, and I appreciate the kind words. I do think the heart and soul of the event is really our athletes, but it's nice to be associated with them in any measure. So thanks for the kind thoughts. I thought about that question a little bit, and you all have heard me over the years, I know Lance has, and Lotte for the last number of years, talk about the way we invest our time, talent, and treasure in other people, and how that is magnified when it comes back to us. And I think the passion and the purpose that I have found in the decade plus that I've been involved with the $1 Million Challenge has given me and my life a lot more meaning than I think it probably had before. Certainly I've had wonderful things occur in my life with my family and my wife and my daughter, but to be able to invest in people in a servant role, servant leadership role, and see it have a tangible impact on their quality of life, to see others come alongside that common purpose and common mission and find themselves reignited and want to be a part of our community because of how impactful it is. And as Lance put it earlier, the quality of the people that we get to ride alongside make us better. And I think we are each better because of the ones around us. So I have taken so much more from the event than the hours I've invested because of, you know, there's a picture of Jamie Whitmore and I, and there's a picture of us coming up Sage Canyon with Lance. Having the privilege of being a part of people's lives that you would not otherwise get to meet, to be on mission with folks who are from diverse backgrounds, from all walks of life, that you would not otherwise have the ability to draw from and socialize with and become friends with. I mean, that to me is the definition of meaning and impact. Our community, since that's what this webinar is about, our community is really kind of the collective soul of the individuals who come into our fold. And that collective soul is not torn apart just by the fact that we're in our own homes and separated right now. Certainly being in company with one another, you know, we're created as social beings who I believe are created to be in company with one another. And that's a huge gaping hole right now for all of us. But the fact that we're able to come alongside one another, even at a distance, even through social media, or ride by one another's house and wave at the person on the porch, our community is going to emerge from this even stronger than it was going into it.
I believe that's true, and that was very, very well said. On the issue of moving forward, and this too shall pass, could you share with us a little bit about the plans for the $1 Million Challenge this year, so we can start getting excited, even though we're not out on the road training together? We would love to start thinking about preparing and getting ready for this year. So we'd love to get an update.
Sure. Well, that's all we're doing, is thinking about how to and when we're able to go out and ride our bikes. $1 Million Challenge is on schedule for middle of October. We have our hotel reservations. We've made our commitments with our vendors. We are planning just as if we are, you know, business as usual. The differences are our training program is going to start a little bit later. We're going to aim to kick off something in early July. Everybody in our cycling email database will be getting a notice, a letter from us here shortly, just reminding everybody of our commitment to do this in a socially responsible way, do it in an impactful way, but more importantly, to still have the event and to do that. So we're going to stay in touch with all the governmental authorities, and we're we're picking the brains of our medical professionals as well as our cycling professionals about a socially responsible way to ride, whether it's 1 by 1, whether it's 2 by 2. It probably will look different for some of our training, but we are excited to have the $2020 million challenge in October.
That's really good news. I'm thrilled to hear it, and I'm excited. So a couple of questions I have sort of for the group, and we have to be a little careful with Zoom and just speak one at a time. But one of the questions I had was, what have we learned from this phase? What can we take away and incorporate in the new normal and keep with us as we go back to a new normal? What is the biggest takeaway that you have each seen in terms of maintaining community and quality and connection? And maybe we'll take one at a time. We can start with you, Helen, then go to Dean, and then go to Lance. If you could each share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously, having retail stores, and we closed the stores down before we needed to close them down because I wasn't feeling that our customers or our team was safe. And now to reopen with the precautions that we have with cashless pickup and delivery, and really just rethinking the experience, because the experience prior was you would come in, you'd see the team, your favorite barista, you'll see someone at a table, somebody, there'll be another rider who comes in the back, someone comes in the front, someone has their child. And now we've got little tigers on the ground outside, 6 feet apart. We have a mobile app, and it's very, very deliberate. And we have, I go to the stores on my bike as much as I can, and I social distance, and I take folks. And they're so happy that we're open. They trust the way we've opened. They're grateful that we're taking all the precautions and that they have their routine back. We had a meeting today. We don't know what the future will look as, Dean doesn't know what the ride will look like. Lotte, you don't know what your business will look like. You don't know what you're going to be looking at, Lance. But we all know that together, businesses will come back. We'll find ways to do things differently. So it's really one foot in front of the other and making sure that we all stay safe and we take care of the people around us. So it's been, you go from overwhelmed to excited to, oh my God, we're going to be doing this ride. So it's a very cautious optimism, but I'm encouraged, and I'm looking forward to moving out of this in a new way, and we'll do it together for sure.
Thank you. Helen, I appreciate you open. I plan my rides around one of your locations, so thank you for that.
Sure.
Dean, what do you think is the biggest takeaway, and what have we learned that we can take with us and in a meaningful way and as we open up the world again?
I don't know if it's the most important thing, but one of the things I'm reminded of is just how much we mean to one another. I think you only know how powerful the human connection is when it's threatened and when it's taken away from you. We talk about community a lot. After 12 to 14 years, some days I lose track of kind of a perpetual year-round MDC plan and CAF engagement at the board level. Sometimes you forget. I think sometimes you forget just how powerful the human connection is with the people that you come alongside on your bike and you come alongside on mission for the CAF purpose. And I think as we emerge from our homes into a more relaxed engagement, hopefully still a responsible one, I think I will be forever reminded of just how important some of the people in my life are that I've gotten to know through the Challenge Athletes Foundation. Lance and we were talking before we went live on the webinar. I mean, it's a joy to get to ride up the coast and stop at Lance's house and say hello, even at a distance. And I think a lot of people do that. And it's more because we miss being in his company than anything else. So I think that's one of the things I'll take back out onto the street with me.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Lance, I do see on Strava and on Facebook several of my friends stopped by your house, and I wish I lived a little closer so I could stop by. But what is the biggest takeaway for you during this pandemic, and what would you like to hold on to as we move back into a new normal?
I know Helen and Dean kind of hit it on the head there, so it's tough to add too much to that, other than adapt and overcome was a quote that we always said in the Marine Corps. And anytime we were in training, every time we faced a difficult situation, it was our job to find a way through that. And I've seen a lot of that over the past couple of months. And early on, I was a little bit nervous about what to expect with all this. The fact that I actually have to have people that help me in the mornings and help me in the evenings, and my life was about eating out because it was so accessible to me, and so there were a lot of unknowns early, but quickly I was shown that wasn't going to be an issue for me. Dean and Scott and all the guys just immediately, like the next day, were on the phone asking me if I needed something, could they bring me something, and could we have lunch? Can we stop by? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible what is happening in my presence right now. I know a lot of people aren't experiencing that, but I have been extremely blessed to be able to be close to what I consider my California family out here. And that's everybody through CAF and how they've looked in on me and made sure that I was okay. And just every day I get up and I open my door, and some days I look out, there's somebody pulling up on their bike to come by and say hello. And that's incredible. It's just incredible for me to experience that. It means so much, and I find so much joy in it, and it just absolutely makes my day. So I've been blessed again to have incredible group of people around me, and this community of CAF is just as good as it gets. And I'm just blessed to have it in my life.
Thank you, Lance. That was actually a beautiful testament to one of my next questions, which is, why is community so important to us, and why do we need it? And I think you just answered that question. It's when all of a sudden the world changes, we have community to stand by us and support us in meaningful ways. So that's a wonderful story. We have a little time left for questions from the audience. So if there are people in the audience that have questions for our panelists, there is a chat button up on the upper right-hand corner. So feel free to shoot us a text with any of your questions. And we would love to hear from you. I know we have about 60 people out there that are tuning into us. And I know we have people in Florida. I know we have a lot of people in Southern California. And then, of course, this is based out of Northern California. So we have all our Northern California people. This was supposed to be our last Bike Talk. We had scheduled 4 of them. We do have a surprise. We have one more coming next week. So you will see an invitation on social media coming up. Our next week, we have a huge surprise guest that I can't disclose who is just yet. But we also have Brandon Lyons, who's our Paralympian hand cyclist, joining us. And we have Jason Karavidas, which is a staff member and a triathlon fan. And the topic is going to be about indoor trainers, Swift, the Peloton, and all the different indoor training. And we're going to be talking about a very special CAF event we have coming up, a virtual spin class with Jens Weir coming up. So that'll all be revealed next week. So stay tuned for that. We have a couple of questions. We have a question from Liz. What's the biggest thing that you have learned so far during COVID-19 and you'll continue to do after? And Helen, can you also tell us what it means to be a B Corp?
Yeah. Being a B Corp is really all about stakeholder value. It's really about making sure that there is a chain of well-being. And I think that when I think about the chain of well-being, when we think about it on the coffee side, coming from the farmer all the way into the cup, and when I think about CAF and I think about cyclists, I think about that community, as Lance said, it's that chain of well-being. It's all of us looking out for each other. So the B Corp is very much about the stakeholders and who's involved, as opposed to sort of a publicly traded company where it's just about shareholder value. This is really about stakeholder value. We're the first coffee company in California to become a B Corp right after Patagonia went up and became one as well. So it's about taking care of everyone and lifting all boats. And that's what we are as a coffee company and as a people. And I think that's what I love so much about the cycling community is nobody drops you. I mean, I'm the latest, and people come back and get me. I see them talking up ahead, like, go back and get Helen. Nobody leaves you. Everybody comes back and gets you. I think that's what I love about cycling. That's how I meet a lot of people. They come get me. So it's kind of great.
Well, we're not going to leave you behind, Helen.
No,
so the question to the group is, what is the biggest thing that you have learned so far during COVID-19 that you will continue to do after? Anyone have a thought on that?
I'll take that.
Okay.
I think one of the things that happens when we're running our lives at warp speed in the old normal is we oftentimes forget to do some of the intentional engagement with our friends. We've got a task list, we've got a to-do list, we've got reactive behavior, kind of wired to make sure we get it all done on a daily basis. And one of the things I've been trying to do with a little bit more forced away time from my office and my work team is to reach out to people that I have not been in contact with that are a part of me, that have always been a big part of who I am and who I want to be, and re-engage with some of those people. And I'm hopeful, prayerful that as I move back out into a newer normal, that I'll continue to make myself re-engage with people that don't come across my path every day.
It's a good reminder. Helen, we have another question for you. I know you have a farm, a coffee farm, and the question is, what's happening in your community of coffee growers and how are they doing right now?
Yeah, we have a coffee farm in Panama, quite high up in it's the highest farm in Central America in Panama. We have 11 people, we have worker housing. Fortunately, right now, everybody is safe, everybody is well. We've scaled back a lot of work in Panama. It's very similar here to the US. I mean, you only go out a couple hours a day to do some work. So people on the farm are staying safe, and that's really important to us. We also have children on the farm. So we're watching that very, very closely. So they're safe as right now.
Wonderful. We have another question for anyone in the group. Where's the first place you will go and take your bike and ride when shelter in place is lifted?
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Good answer.
Yeah, I'm ready to get on my bike and ride. I know that there'll be a lot of fun rides ahead, and I want to ride in San Francisco one day for sure. Again.
We would love it. You should come join one of our club rides up here when those seem to be picking up again, when that seems to be socially responsible and safe to do again. We'd love to have you.
I'd love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Dean and Helen, anything on your wish list for taking your bike somewhere?
For me, it's not as much about where. For me, it's more with who or whom. The little riding that I have done during this period of time has either been solo or with one person in the most socially responsible way we can do it, 6 feet apart, side by side. I'm really looking forward to the day when we can roll up and down inside of a larger group over a longer day and socialize with many of our friends. So it's really more about the who than it is the where.
Great answer.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I've been riding a lot by myself. And I really miss the camaraderie of having 6 to 8 people around me and chatting as we're going up and down the hill. And so I do miss that. I do love being out there by myself because I feel like when I do get back with Lotte and Naomi, I'll be ready. I'll keep up. And so challenging myself every time I'm out there by myself.
Nobody's keeping track of pace. It's all about joining the community and being together. So
yeah, absolutely. Love it.
Let me just see. The last question that we have is, how do you feel about riding virtually with your community? CAF has started doing virtual spin classes. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to join it. Any of you had the opportunity to join it yet?
I have not. No.
No. Well, that's our topic next week. So with that last question, I think we can start wrapping up tonight. And next week, we'll all learn about riding together virtually. Jens Voigt is going to join us for a virtual spin class, and CAF is having their worldwide virtual cycling club they have launched. And I'm sure Jamie will join us and tell us a little bit more about that as well. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Thank you to everybody who listened in and was part of our community. The community is the secret sauce to making CAF a successful foundation. So we appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you all out on the road at events again in the near future. And thank you so much. Take care and see you all next week.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.